Shalom, shalom, my brothers and sisters. I want to welcome you to the Black News Network, the real voice of Black U.S.A. This is from the desk of the emissary. I am your host, Brother Walt Smith Bay, from a Black perspective. That's the way we are going today. We're going to talk about things that we should know as fathers. And I want to say happy Father's Day to you out there, and thank you for being the good dad that you are. And you got to know that you're most important than anybody. Also, we do not own the rights to the music, but we do own the right to what we say. So without further ado, and moving into our topic, I'm going to bring you in my co-host, which is Mr. Chuck Slaughter. Chuck, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead and tell somebody who you are.
Well, I'm just an old boy sitting here in the community doing a little, doing my share
What's that underneath your name?
That's the Black Independent Voters Association, BEVA.
So you're the chairman?
Yeah, I'm the founder of it. It's an organization designed to concentrate on getting the Black vote empowered and unified, so that when we go to the polls to vote, our vote will matter. It will count for something. That's why we're having the town hall meetings that we're beginning to have, so we can listen to the.
You got a date on that town hall meeting?
Yeah, our first one is going to be on July the 13th down at the Carver Branch Library. We are targeting the disenfranchised citizens in our community, such as the working poor, the formerly incarcerated, and people like that. This is the quiet storm that I believe that President Obama was once talking about. And I believe we need to mobilize these people and get them ready to go to the polls in November.
I agree with you, Chuck.
And beyond. D2 and Precinct 4 need to be aware that we have some issues with them as well. So we got to let people know we got problems and we need them to solve them and stop putting a Band-Aid on them.
I thank you, Chuck. I mean, that's you're right. We do need to stop putting that Band-Aid on these big problems that we have. And without further ado, we do have our other co-host here, and that is Mr. Claude Foster. Go ahead and give us the intro.
Well, let me start off by saying Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and brothers. Interesting show. We're talking about the Taney decision as it relates to
our freedom, our citizenship.
Well, it's a precarious situation in it.
This is something that's going to be really interesting.
Because
today, go ahead. You got anything else, Clark?
Well, I was just going to say, we're still not on a firm foundation.
No.
In terms of our status in this country.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, Dredd Scott was an individual who. Let me see if I can bring it to the front here. Dredd Scott was an individual who did. Let me just show you the picture and then we'll come back. I had to, I put him in the wrong place, but that's a picture of Dredd Scott. And we are here today to kind of go through his life. So the first thing I'd like to do with us is bring up his timeline. And that's slide number 2. But just tell you what Dredd Scott actually did. And he really, really did something for U.S.A. And believe it or not, the Supreme Court decision stands to this day. But what I'm going to ask, and to ask my co-host, is there something that overrules the Supreme Court? Because if the Supreme Court made this ruling and it has not been overturned, then look at what it says. I'm going to read it so everybody, people at home don't have to try to read it. The majority held that a Negro whose ancestors were imported into the U.S. and sold as slaves, whether enslaved or free, it didn't damn matter, could not be an American citizen and therefore did not have standings to sue in federal court because the court lacked jurisdiction. Tandy dismissed the case on procedural grounds. And Tandy is one of the Supreme Court justices. He's an asshole.
Well, but one thing that you got to realize about Tandy and the majority of the court back then, them was Southern crackers.
You ain't lying.
They believed in slavery. They owned slaves.
Ain't you from Georgia?
I'm from Alabama.
Oh, okay. Okay, I was
Yeah,
gonna get you.
I think the majority of the court was Southerners.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, Democrats.
Southern Democrats. But
That's-
Georgia
Go ahead.
jumped in Jubilee when this ruling was passed, and they thought they were going to keep their slaves and keep it moving. But Dred Scott case was the first thing that really started the trajectory to the Civil War. His case and the ruling on his case made it something that made the country fall apart between
because
North and
because
South.
because Dred Scott's white female owner didn't want to give them that freedom. That's how they wound up in court in the first place.
Yeah,
So he found it in order for him to make the finding that he did, he say we weren't citizens
yeah.
because
And that
what
is
he
pretty-
yeah.
huh?
Go ahead.
Is there anything that overrules the Supreme Court?
Yeah, Civil War, Constitution, getting the
But
number
the
of states.
Constitution was already written, though, right?
Yeah, but the Constitution was written, but you got to remember the slave question was still up in the air, because remember the Union was being formed and they was letting in slave states and free states, and all the states that we're from, Mississippi, Louisiana, with that big purchase, and these states were coming into the Union, and them Southern crackers wanted them states to be slave states, and so what Taney was arguing was that if he had a ruled in Dred Scott's favor, slavery would have ended without the Civil War.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had to have that war.
We wouldn't have had to have the war.
So Tandy started the damn Civil War.
Well, I think that there would have been a Civil War without Tandy, because remember who was the abolitionist, the famous abolitionist back then?
Female, male.
Frederick Douglass.
Huh?
Frederick Douglass said that the Dred Scott decision was the best thing ever at that time, because he knew that it was intolerable, that America couldn't stand on that decision. That decision was so bad for America that it would hasten slavery, and which it did. It hastened the war, which ended slavery in the country. Because you can't have a country that was getting to be as big as America and have, because what they had to have a question was, what Taney tried to argue in that decision was, okay, if states can determine who's free and who's not, and yet the Constitution can determine who's a citizen, that was a conflict in the making. That was a conflict in itself. So you're saying that states got, if you live in a state, you got more freedom under that state's law than you do under the Constitution?
On the federal law.
And so that shit wouldn't have held up anyway.
Yeah.
Because as the country grew and more states were free,
So that's a question, a good question you just brought up. Federal law and state law, and we already know federal law. There's a couple of other things that
it's always been a tension. It was
like
federal
constitutional law or something like that.
Well, I mean, think about the federal law. The federal law passed all the civil rights bills, not states, federal.
Yeah.
The Voting Rights Act is a
state.
right. The Voting Rights Act is a federal law. The Fair Housing Act is a federal law. So it's always been a conflict. That's why the federal government is supreme.
Yeah.
And that Taney decision tried to make it seem like the he argued that it must have been okay because the founders, and so so I think it would. I think that's why Frederick Douglass said it, because Frederick Douglass was smart for his time, and I think he understood that decision was so in conflict with America's values,
Yeah.
beliefs, and stuff that it wouldn't that slavery was that it was the best thing that happened to us as a people.
Okay.
because because without, I think the Civil War hastened our freedom, because
Mhm.
remember, it was the Taney decision that allowed Abraham Lincoln to be elected,
Yeah.
because remember, it was Democrats that was running the country.
So let's make sure we got 2 points clear. We got the Democrats running the country. We got Abraham Lincoln becoming president, and we got Tandy is the one who dismissed the case on procedural grounds for
Well, he dismissed the case on a whole bunch of bullshit legal
yeah.
rigmarole bullshit.
They were
Right.
going to deny it anyway because if they felt like if they did, they were going to give black people too
Well,
much
it
power.
was, and it showed you how the power that the Southern crackers had. It was a 7-2 decision.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Now,
They had the majority of the court. So without the Civil War, ain't no telling how long we would have been slaves.
right. There was a this
Yeah.
article that this is not an article, but this little saying that I have next is something that came out of Georgia. So right after Tandy made that decision, Georgia started partying because they thought they were going to keep their slaves. And then they wrote in one of the local papers that they have, and the they being the Negroes, they have no rights which the white man was bound to respect,
Right.
and that Negro might justly and lawfully be reduced, what else, to slavery.
Right. I mean, if you're not a citizen of the country you live in,
Mhm.
I mean, how low can you go?
But this, look at that last part right there. Says slavery for his benefit, for the slave's benefit, for the Negro's benefit. He's gonna be reduced to slavery for his benefit. That's the way they looked at us, man.
Yeah.
For his benefit. I mean, I
Well,
don't see.
how is that any different than what the guy said in Florida about the fact that under slavery we learned trades and shit?
Yeah, we got skill
How is that any different from that language then
Chuck
and his
got
language
skill
today?
sets too, you know. Chuck got some skill sets doing from slavery.
Right. Yeah, Chuck, you got some skill sets from slavery.
Oh yeah,
But you know, but
and lawyers, cotton pickers.
since we've gone through that evolution, think about no immigrant, no common European that was sent to, no one has ever had to go through that type of decision to address their humanity.
Just humanity too, and that's all it is.
It's
It's
humanity.
They still counted us as what, 2/5, 3/5
Well,
of humanity?
here again, that was congressional. I mean, that was political bullshit.
We
Three
weren't even
fifth,
a whole man.
because the majority of the population was slaves, was in the South.
Yeah.
So the South had disproportionate representation in Congress. So they say, okay, we're only going to count 3/5 of your niggas as a person.
All right, so guys, what's the difference it is from then to now? I mean, when you look at what we do, we go to court all the time and we lose. Brothers go to jail all the time. I mean, we get stopped, we get traffic tickets, we get beat up on the street, we get killed in the streets. So it's almost like if you get out the plantation, you subject to get killed
But
out
I
here.
got, but I got even worse. And I think that Chuck will agree with that. I think that we as black people, some of us treat our own as 3/5 of a person
You're right.
Yeah, I will. I will agree with that. And as
with
far as
no with no rights.
Yeah.
vis-a-vis the criminal
So
industrial
In the
give me an
system,
same,
the
example of what
healthcare
you
system.
mean, though. What do you mean? Why you
Well,
figure that we treat each other worse than the white man treat us?
I just came back. I was at the Jack and Jill thing this morning. There was 1,200 delegates from Louisiana, New Mexico, and Texas. It cost $800 a person to go. $800 a person times 1,200. That's $1 million. That don't count the vendors and all that kind of stuff. But none of that. They was at the Hilton Americas Hotel. Ain't none of that money got spent. Now there was black vendors there,
Mm-hmm.
but most of that money was spent in a white world.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
99%.
In a white world,
Mm-hmm.
because even with the black vendors, they had to
Look,
pay
and you
taxes.
and add this to it. In every major city, 98% of their budget goes to the white male.
So I guess what I'm saying, like I was thinking this morning, like Ron Reynolds showed up. Well, I knew him through the NAACP. He's a state rep now,
Mm-hmm.
and he's I looked at our black politicians and say, what value do they bring to the black community? And you know what value they are? They bring social value to the black middle class. They give the letters to their kids that want to go to college. They show up at their sorority meetings, their fraternity meetings, their whatever meetings.
So you saying it don't change anything?
Not for the people in the well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How many meetings do they show up for people in the well? How many certificates do they give out to the people in the well?
We can't even get the city council to come down to a meeting.
Right.
It's not when I did before. I've had
I'm
when
working.
we had a running for city council. We did have a town hall meet the candidates night in Wheatley Courts. The candidates came out, the citizens came out, and they had some issues that complained to the candidates, and the
Mm-hmm.
candidates responded, to them seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about it, there is talent in the well,
Mm-hmm.
and we got to figure out how to can that talent up and make it work, so that we can create a product that we can market to the world and make our own money. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if this is what we have to do, this is what we have to do. We can't depend on people that work hard to get what they want out of life
Mm-hmm.
to do what we consider as God's work and reaching back and taking care of those who are
Who
gonna
need help
take
to
care of
get it up?
themselves.
Get up.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not that they are lazy and sorry, won't get up off of their butt. I've been dealing with that myself. I mean, I refuse to sit around and wait for Gabriel to come blow his horn,
Mm-hmm.
But it is very difficult trying to come out here and function in this here world today,
Mm-hmm.
as it was when I grew up and when I went to school and got an education in the field that I plan to work in for the next 25, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Those type of jobs are not that plentiful out there anymore. They're definitely not going to black people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the money
Uh,
ain't in our community.
No, no, we had to go out of our community for everything, and the money,
Mm-hmm.
and then you got outside forces coming into our community, providing the services that we need, taking the money out of the community, back into their community, and paying the taxes for the schools and stuff in their community.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
You know, yeah, you do.
We
You
we
hit the
just
nail
got
on the head. Everything you done said is exactly what's happening.
we
Go
just
ahead.
got we just got to get out here and educate the poor, mobilize them, and get ready to do that blue T-shirt march to the polls in 2024 and in
Mhm.
future elections too. So
So why did you set up that town hall meeting? What did you why did you really set it up, Chuck? What's going on here? You think people don't know what's happening out here? You think they don't watch Donald Trump on TV every day or something?
uh, I have a perception that might be true for some, but not all. I
Mm.
mean, the working poor, I'm quite sure they're paying attention to the news
No,
and
Chuck,
stuff like
the
this.
working poor are working.
They're working, right?
There
See,
work
and the
They're
ones that's
work.
not working are listening to BET and VH1.
when
I don't
they
know
ain't
about
work.
it.
Huh?
All right, so you think that you're going to be able to get this is on a Saturday, right?
Right.
So you think you're going to be able to get the black people to come to the meeting at the Claude Black Library? I mean, we're going to get some people. We're going to get the people that participate in everything. But are you going to get some people that ain't been to too much of nothing?
That's
Nope.
that's my
That's your
that's my
challenge.
intent.
That's the
Uh,
challenge there.
that's why we giving them with the we giving we
That's
only
why we're
have
doing the incentives, right?
free lunch for coming. There might be
But
some door prizes,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But right now, I need people to jump in here and say, okay, we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of me out front putting all this stuff together by myself,
I thought we
uh,
said. I
I
thought
got a
we
pretty
said.
good I got a pretty good program put together. I think it's going to be informative,
Mm-hmm.
and we're looking to come out of here. We're hoping to find about at least 20 or 30 volunteers to become deputy registrars, so we can
Mm-hmm.
start targeting the black voters here in San Antonio. We got to go to events like last night. I was so sick because I'm out there amongst a couple of thousand black people, and didn't
Mm-hmm.
have no literature or anything to pass out to them. Didn't
How
have
you get several thousand black people in one place?
the Juneteenth festival.
Over there at Comanche Park.
Yeah, we had heat wave out in the park last night, boy, and it was woo, they was good.
It was a heat wave.
No, it wasn't hot. It wasn't not.
Oh, it
It was
wasn't hot.
warm. It was comfortable out there. The
And
shade
see,
tree.
people like that. People like that stuff, and that to me, I like it too. But the bottom line is, if you can get a couple of thousand people to come out to hear somebody shaking their ass on the stage and singing, then why can't you come to a town hall meeting? I mean, you should have took the mic and started talking about it. I don't know if how easy that would
They
have
had a
been.
big old
But
7 foot,
is like
300 pound security guard out there that took the
you
dude
said,
got on
hey,
the
that shit
stage.
ain't happening, right?
Yeah, he walked him right on off the stage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that. But let's go
Yeah.
to
But we had the opportunity, and so the people from the thread, if we'd have been working together, we had the opportunity to go out there. They had a session where you could speak to the people in the community, could speak to the people. You could tell them about your products or whatever you're
did you
selling,
speak to the
or
people?
whatever issue you want to talk to them about in the community. I used to talk to them about voting all the time when I went up there.
Yeah. Did you speak to the people?
No, we was at the meeting over there.
Oh, okay. That was doing
Yeah,
that.
we was at the meeting, and by the time we did that, we went and had lunch, and then we went out and took a nap. Then I went back out there.
All right. Let's move on to the next part that I want to talk about. And this part is based on the whole life of Dred Scott, because I want everybody to keep focused that we're talking about Dred Scott and his life struggle to get classified as a citizen. And the purpose behind all of this is to let our people know. And I don't know if I could call our people. I wanted to say to let our black people know, or to let our African American people know, or to let our Negroes know, or to let our colored people know. What am I mean, I could go on and on. All
Just go
these.
with black.
I mean, I
Just
don't
just
feel.
go with black.
Huh?
Well, but you
Just
know,
go with
but you
black.
know, but you know, in that ruling, back in the 1700s, that was indentured servants.
Mm,
So Cheney didn't say slaves
mm.
because there were people, white people, as serving as slaves for a period of time, and then
Mhm.
they were no longer slaves.
When they wrote the
So, so,
Constitution,
so he didn't. There were indentured servants in America, white indentured servants that came over here. They paid for their voyage to
see,
America.
this is what they this is
But
this
but
is what
but
they
but, but
want to
what
call it.
but what Taney said, he didn't say slaves in his
No, he
ruling.
didn't.
He said
Nobody
people
said.
of African descent,
Hmm.
which excluded indentured servants.
Yeah,
Because who was people of African descent?
they're us, the slaves.
The slaves. But he didn't say slaves.
The Constitution was written
But he
with,
didn't
with
slaves.
no word. The slave is not in the Constitution, by the way.
No, but
You
my
cannot
point
in the
was
word slave,
he
and you
couldn't in
add
the
slave here.
in that period in the 1700s. I mean, in the 1800s when his ruling, there was still indentured white servants.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that was still in
Well,
other people in
every
slavery besides African people of African descent.
back then, it was the same as it is now. White people ruled everything, and they intentionally made it a point not to put slave in their writings. The U.S. Constitution did not mention it one time, but
Let me ask you, but let me ask you this: there's not much talk about his Dred Scott's owner was gonna let him go free, but his owner died,
that's what we
and
finna
then
talk about
and
right
his
now.
ownership transferred to this white woman,
Yeah, I got
and
this.
she
That's
didn't,
the
and
subject
she
matter right now.
and she didn't want to let the
Right
nigga,
when he was born.
and she didn't want to let him go.
Dred Scott was born in the slavery in Virginia in 1799, and then Dred Scott and Harriet Scott, his wife, filed individual lawsuits for their freedom in Missouri. So they left Virginia and went to Missouri.
But
The
brother,
state
but
court
brother,
in,
but this, but this is what I want to ask you though, brother. I hear what you're
Mhm,
saying,
mhm,
because remember, it was Dred Scott's wife that insisted that he filed for freedom.
yeah,
So, so was Sanford's was Dred Scott's owner after the father died? Was there any sexual relationship between him and that woman, that white woman? Because she didn't
you know,
because she didn't want to let him go, and his
you
wife,
think he would have
Dred
left
Scott's
until
wife,
he got his
Dred
freedom.
Scott's wife insisted that he file for his freedom. So was she jealous? Was that some other kind of shit going on that we don't
It
know
had to
about?
be some shit we don't know about, right?
What they call him?
I mean, was Dredd? I mean, did she want to not let Dredd go, or did she not want to let Dredd go?
Something was going
She
on,
had
right?
her
Right.
Mandingo. She ain't gonna let him go.
I mean, that ain't in the history book. That's just my theory.
Yeah,
You
that's
probably got a
probably what
right
it's all
theory.
about.
Because his wife insisted that he file for his freedom
Yeah.
Hmm.
The state court in 1850 declared Scott free. Now he did get his freedom.
in
The
the
state
state
court
court,
in Missouri declared him free,
but they
but
left Missouri
Missouri
because cause
reversed in 1852. So he had freedom for 2 years, and then they changed the
but
damn
but
thing.
but didn't he want to leave Missouri?
Yeah, he left Missouri.
And but his slave owner mystery. I mean, his slave owner's wife didn't want that Mandingo to go.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's the side of the
They
story that
didn't
ain't
want him to go.
that ain't in the history books, because
And in
that kind of shit goes
Yeah,
on today throughout our history.
and they don't want you to tell that story either through CRT. That's
Now
why
I
they
haven't
the
I haven't
CRT in the front.
I haven't read that, but given what I understand about human nature,
Yeah,
there's got to be a reason why she didn't. It was just one slave. Why he didn't want to let her
didn't let
go?
him go.
uh,
It had to be a reason. You're absolutely right.
And since his wife was insisting, I think that was the reason.
She was tired of him going into her bedroom.
Yeah, cause she owned him. Cause she owned
Yeah,
him.
she could get what she wanted from him.
She could get
whenever
what she wanted when he wanted. And then when she wanted him, when his wife wanted him, he was too tired. So she said, "This shit's got to end."
yeah.
Well, the
'Cause-
Supreme Court issued its controversial ruling on the case.
Right.
Majority opinion is delivered by Chief Justice Roger B. Taney.
A Southerner.
And he doesn't think any white man got to respect any rules that we have or any laws that protect us.
Well, when he said that we had no rights under the Constitution, that's basically what he said.
And he said we could, what do you say, from African descent?
He said African descent. He didn't say slave
Okay, African descent person cannot become a citizen in the USA.
in the USA.
Now that stood firm because it was the Supreme Court decision, right?
Right.
Okay. I want,
But tensions were already
Uh,
high.
yeah, it was already building between
Right.
the North and the South.
and the
Right.
question
Because
you
the South
said
Well,
wanted to
African.
continue their plight of
well,
raising children.
the country was growing, so the tension was built in because as states got added, were they going to be slave states or were they going to be free states?
Yeah.
So the tension was out, and Taney, the whole court case was just about one simple thing. Taney added all that other shit in there.
Mhm. He wanted you to know that these are the
He's
parameters of
he
what he's
saw
asking you to
he
do.
s- he saw an opportunity and he took it.
Yeah. All right. So May
And you know,
26th.
brother, and you know, brother,
Mm,
history repeats itself. Look at the makeup of this Supreme Court we got now.
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. And so that's why I was saying the Supreme Court is supposed to be nonpartisan, independent.
Chuck,
Hmm.
The Supreme Court has
they're human.
been political all along.
Hmm.
No, they've
Even
been
today,
human,
they didn't
human.
just, yeah, they didn't just get political. Now they've been political. Seems like,
Hmm.
and so I think, you asked the question: is there any power over the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I
Well,
did.
they've been talking about impeaching what's the name, Thomas and Alito. Okay, so
Hmm.
I think Congress still has some kind of power to step in and do something with the Supreme Court. And there's fit to be a shakeup in it too. I think when Biden was just waiting for his second term, when he's the lame duck president, and he's probably going to go there and expand the Supreme Court so it would
Hmm.
be fair. See, but I think that what they need to do is have uh, four conservative, four liberals, or something on the court. It need to be equal, but the chief justice need to be chosen by the American people.
Hmm.
We got to have somebody on that court that we can hold accountable. But
Hmm.
that ain't gonna happen because they don't. They want to have the supreme power to control the country.
They don't want it
They
to
want the people
change.
to have that
Because how,
voice.
because how did Tandy know that the Constitution didn't intend for black folks to be citizens? How did he know that?
Because it was from the start. They
But how,
intentionally didn't count the black people as people. They counted them as part of it. They owned them. That was livestock. That's what they call these people, livestock. That's I almost said a cuss word, but that's what the slaves were. They were not people. They were property, and they called them livestock. So that's why they everything they wrote
yeah,
from
but
on
it,
up
but in
had
the
no intention to include the livestock.
but prior to that ruling, there were black people
Yeah, in the North.
in 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 the
Did you
earlier
remember
state.
when Abraham Lincoln said that there was 10 million? I forgot the word he used, but he was talking about black people. He said
Hmm.
there's 10 million black people west of the Potomac or something like that. And he said that if you wait 10 years, it's going to be 50 million of them over there. And who do you think he talking about? He talking about black people. And the second thing I wanted that was on my mind right quick was that all these people died. They killed 90% of the population that were here with diseases. And they had to cure the syphilis and other diseases, smallpox and other diseases that they caught, but they would not share it with the natives. So the natives were trying to do these damn dances and witchcraft and all this other stuff, and they were still dying. So these people brought diseases that killed off an entire population. Just like they make animals extinct, they damn near made us extinct before we got out of here, before we got out of slavery. The natives, I'm talking about natives.
So do you think that they can undo the 14th Amendment?
The 14th Amendment is invalid because it's against what the Constitution says. What is it? Section 1, I think it's clause 3. but I have to go back and
So
look.
you think they can undo something that says if you're born here, you're automatically a citizen?
How you got to get rid of the Supreme Court ruling first
And what's the ruling?
that no African descent person can be a citizen.
But that decision has already been overturned by the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Well, the 5th, 14th Amendment.
The amendments does not talk about this ruling. None of
It
those,
talks about citizenship, though.
huh?
It talks about citizen. That's what the ruling was about,
Yeah, yeah, they
citizenship.
can write what they want, but if you're writing it's only the 14th that's not valid. If you're writing the this amendment got nothing to do with the Supreme Court decision.
No, the Constitution is the only thing that can override a Supreme Court decision, opinion.
But you don't if you don't say it, if you don't say, well, we're going to retract this motion, you got
So
to
you
say
think
it.
you
So
think it's got to be you think it's
you
got to
got to cite what
explicitly
it
say
is.
it.
You can't just think it's going to automatically go away. It has to be cited in the doctrine. It ain't
But
cited
but
nowhere.
the
That this is
14th Amendment did away with his ruling.
huh?
The 14th Amendment nullified that ruling
How is that? How can you tell me
because
that?
it's a constitutional amendment. The only
Yeah.
thing higher than a Supreme Court decision is a constitutional amendment.
Okay, but the 14th
Remember,
violation.
Taney used the Constitution to justify what he did. So the only thing that could change.
The 14th Amendment violates the Constitution without even being said. You
How?
look, it's section 1. I don't know what clause, but the Constitution violates. I mean, 14th Amendment violates the Constitution. I can pull it up.
What you been reading and who you been listening to?
I ain't been listening to nobody. I read
Well,
this.
what you been and where?
Then who you been listening to? You got to look at
No,
what
I got a copy
You
of the
can-
14th Amendment. I'm saying that's
well,
the
I
only,
got it too.
but that's the only thing that nullified.
The 14th Amendment ain't even ratified. You said
It
there was
had to be-
31 states. 31 states voted to approve.
The states had to ratify. In fact, the southern states had to agree to ratify the amendment. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been admitted back to the union.
It ain't ratified.
It,
There's two things wrong with the 14th Amendment.
okay, how is it? Why
Anyway,
is it not
that's
ratified?
our
No, but I ain't gonna let you. No, you can't walk away from that. How is it not ratified? And if you pull up a copy of the Constitution, which I have right here,
I don't
it's
wanna
got
go
the
that
it's
deep.
got the it's got the 13th.
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying
It's got the
it, because
13th,
this has been
14th,
my
and
argument
15th
all
Amendment.
along.
Let's do the 14th Amendment in the Constitution next
It's
week.
it's in
But
here.
if that
It's
was
in here,
true,
brother.
we should have did
This
it
is
then.
it. They didn't say
You can pull up
it-
any book, but the white
No.
man wrote the book. The same
But it ain't-
people that wrote the Constitution, the same people that wrote the 14th Amendment. You trying to show me something that they wrote?
what I'm saying. No, what I'm saying
I'm
to
going to
you
show
is
you.
what
I'm going
I'm.
to show you. You hold that thought. I'm going to
Okay.
show you that the 14th Amendment is in violation of the Constitution under Section 1. I'm going to find the actual one that it violates, and I'm going to tie it to the 14th Amendment and show.
Okay, I look forward to seeing
I'm
that
not
because
going to change this show just to prove a point. We can
no, I
do
mean,
it next week.
no, I'm not trying to prove a point. I was just trying to making a statement of
No,
fact.
this is a discussion we're gonna have. We're gonna have it next week though. But let's finish. I want to go ahead with Dredd Scott because there's
Okay.
one more thing I wanted to cover before we moved on. Chuck, why are you sitting back like you ain't involved? Dredd,
Oh, I'm deeply involved, brother, because this has been my argument all along with this not knowing who we are, whose we are.
yeah, that's
just
good, Claude.
all that kind of stuff. So what Claude has done is just kind of like, justifying what I've been saying all along.
you saying that it's valid, the 14th Amendment.
That the
right?
14th. Now, I'm saying
It says,
That's what Claude is saying.
yeah, I'm saying that it's as valid. It's as worth as the Constitution itself. So we could argue that the Constitution ain't worth a shit, but to the degree that it is, the 14th Amendment is part of it.
Now, where does it say that the Constitution overrides the Supreme Court?
I mean, it's out there. I can't
Well, we need
tell
to
you.
find that too. Those are the two things I'm going to do the research on over this week.
The
But I want to
Constitution.
say on May 26, 1857, Dredd and Harriet Scott gained their freedom after having been purchased by members of the Peter Blow family,
Hmm.
Dred Scott's original owners. So they saw all the stuff that he had went through, so they
Hmm.
granted him and his wife their freedom. That man set the trend, the trajectory for us to become citizens in America. However, every single thing that they give us, they find a way to take it back.
Well, let
And
me ask you a question. Do you
that,
think that you don't think nothing else? You don't think that the country growing would have created the Civil War without the Dred Scott decision?
I think we still would have had the Civil War.
I
But
mean, because the country
because
was divided.
we would have still had the Civil War, but it's all around slavery. You know it, I know it. I don't care what they did.
So you don't think that there would have been a 14th
We would
Amendment?
have had the Civil War, huh?
So without the Dred Scott decision, there would not have
We
been a
still would have
14th.
had the Civil War. Nothing could have
Wait,
stopped.
wait, 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 wait. Listen to my question though. Without the Dred Scott decision,
Mhm.
would the Civil War change things? Would the Civil War have changed things for Black folks in terms of codifying citizenship?
It depends on who won the war. So the North won the war, so that put us in the position we were in to be free.
So you think that?
Nobody. Oh,
But see that begs another question, brother
Conservation
Bay. No,
did
brother
not
Bay.
see the word citizenship for the slaves.
So
And
brother
then
Bay.
furthermore,
So
what
brother
is
Bay.
a slave? A slave is not a person.
But
Slave,
brother
you
Bay.
can't consider a whole race of people on slaves.
Brother Bay, answer this question. So, without that decision, there still would have been a civil war because the Union was divided over slaving.
I thought
But
we
you don't
got
think. But you don't think. But without that decision, with the good white folks in the North that won the war, would there have been a need for a 14th Amendment, or would the Constitution be able to stand on its
the
own?
14th Amendment wasn't written for the black people. The 14th Amendment was written to readmit the southern states back into the Union. That's
Right.
what you,
But that's what I'm asking you. So without that,
Mhm.
do you think that the Civil War would have freed the would have
as long as the North won, the slaves were going to be free.
no? If the North won without the Dred Scott decision, do you think the
still would
question
be
of slavery would have been addressed at that time?
They still would have been free. But see, it's not a mistake that they did not say African Americans or Negroes or African descent in any of the constitutional documents. They did not mention us in those documents, but they
Right.
did mention us in the four Emancipation Proclamations. In each one of them, they talk
But
about
they did. But they
in the
did.
Emancipation
But
Proclamation.
But they didn't. They didn't mention. They
talk
didn't mention.
about the 40 acres and a mule
But they didn't mention us.
that we didn't get.
But they didn't mention us directly in the 14th Amendment.
That's my point. They do this intentionally. They're not gonna mention us because they don't know who to call us. Ooh, look at that hand. What's up?
Well, they could.
Yeah.
Get Chuck a bun.
As,
Get Chuck a
as,
brick.
as, as bad as I hate to do this, I mean, this is so good right now, but I do have another appointment I got to get to. So I got to wish you guys a happy Father's Day and on to all the listeners that might be out there and fathers, happy Father's Day. And to the single mothers out there, happy honorary Father's Day. I gave that
Ain't no
to
mother gonna be no father, Chuck.
well, some of them are playing the role of both. You got to
No. But that's he said. A mother can't be a father.
All right, I ain't gonna get into the
They got
debate.
their
Stop.
daddy.
Stop with that sliding scale crap.
You don't want to honor these
You know,
single mothers.
you sound like-
They get their daddy when we get out.
You sound like a discussion between what's a man and what's a woman.
This is
But
nothing.
anyway, I'm gonna go and enjoy some of this shrimp and steak and
Chuck,
stuff like
Chuck,
that.
you want to put that on the agenda, Chuck?
What?
What you talking about right now? Talking about honoring some women on Father's Day. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Put it out there. We might get. I put it out there. I'm not selling us out. But I'm just recognizing
I don't. But you got to
one
explain
of
that one
the
to me.
Yeah.
But
one of the ladies that came to join our organization. You know, when she came to join our organization, she came to join our organization because we were talking about doing something to help the young black males, okay? And
Mm,
she said, because I am a single mother with a son, that's why I joined this conversation, okay?
mm,
Today in church, the pastor told us there's thousands and thousands of young black males out here being raised by women. And
yep.
we as men need to get in there and mentor to them and help them raise these kids. So the
Mhm.
woman is, and there's some fathers out there playing the role of the mothers sometimes.
So
They're
why
raising
you
their
got to
children
bring
by
it in,
themselves.
bring that up on Father's Day?
our
Father's
day. That's a
Day,
man's day.
idiot.
We already know the problems that we got in the black family. Why you wanna mess with the one day that's our day,
Out of
man's day?
365 days.
You got
Look,
364 days to
I ain't,
give
you know,
woman.
it ain't no have no negative impact on our day. It just shows that we are big enough to celebrate
You
our
and your
day,
flower child
recognize
stuff
the
need
work
to
that the
stop that.
single women and single men are doing, raising their children, playing both roles. Can't
What,
deny that.
Chuck? Look at
Chuck.
society.
So can a man
Right?
can a
Not
man play both
by
roles?
accident.
He does. There are men out there that play both roles.
So that a man can breastfeed.
A man can birth a child.
Come on, you know better. You know the answer to that.
Well,
Then
what
why are
role
you
you
trying to
talking?
Women
take
What
don't
that
role you
away?
talking?
all women don't breastfeed their babies. There's bowels. Yeah, come on, man.
I'm just asking the
That
question.
wasn't a good one. Now, can a woman have a baby without a man?
Yeah,
She can.
of course.
Yeah,
Where
they
she
do it all
gonna
the
get
time.
the seed?
That's
You know,
where you think
Where she gonna
I.
get the
boy
seed
has to
from?
have a man in his life.
Where is she gonna get the
And if
seed
a
from?
woman doesn't put a man in his life, then that boy gonna be something gonna happen with that boy. I ain't gonna say 100% of the time, but some of the time, because I was raised by a single mother, and I can attest to what I'm saying.
I knew something was wrong.
What? What's that? What was wrong?
Oh shit.
Anyway, you got to you
You got to
finished.
go, Chuck. But
I don't want
yeah.
to keep because we don't. We've been interrupting you. You are you finished?
You open that can of worms.
I'm finished. It's a good conversation, and I wish I didn't have to go because I'm really enjoying it. But
Mm,
and I'm getting educated. Anytime I'm on here with you guys, being a
mm.
man in the well as I am, I'm getting educated, and I'm taking that education. Hopefully, I'm going to take it back into the well and start trying to share it with the people that need to know it, and say, "Hey, look, let's pull together so we can climb up out of this stuff together." You know what I mean? Because with all
Right,
this
right.
stuff they're talking about in politics, it's the poor people that are hurting the most, and then nobody's talking about it. Thank you, and y'all have a great, blessed rest of the day.
All right. All
All
right.
right,
So
Chuck.
where were we, Claude? What were you talking about? We were talking about the Constitution
Well,
intentionally omitting the African American or saying slave. But I wanted you to answer one question for me. What is a slave? I looked up the definition of slave, and it ain't what we think.
well, I think in Taney's definition of what was a slave, it was a person of African descent, so it was an African.
Okay, look. So that's another title you add to the African American, the colored, the Negro, the black, the slave. Do
Well,
we add that to it?
I think Taney used that definition because there were indentured servants that were slaves for a
Mm.
period of time. So I
I
think,
mean, that ain't the question. The question is, do we add that to the list of all of our names? Black, African American, colored, Negro, nigger, and now we add slave to our titles. All these damn titles, and neither one of these titles get us anything. That's the
well,
problem
well, well,
right there,
but
Claude. We got
Chuck,
too many titles.
but brother Babe, when you're making something, right? You put
Mm-hmm.
in ingredients, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you got to change the oregano for cinnamon, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're made in America, brother. That's
Yeah.
why we made up a we've been called everything that you just mentioned. Those are
But
the
why?
ingredients. We're trying to get the right mixture.
A slave is an adjective. And when you look in the Constitution, they
Because
say
we're
like
not
we
done yet.
be slaves. The slaves ain't us. We can't be classified as slaves. The people that came
What
off the plantation were not slaves.
what
These
I'm
were people coming out of bondage,
what I'm saying
out of
is
captivity. Huh?
right. But what I'm saying is that be, because we were brought here as slaves, right?
No, we weren't. We were brought here as captives.
Okay. Well, I mean, but some of our own people were doing the bargaining.
Doesn't matter. We still
Okay.
were brought here as captives, people that they captured.
No, we were brought here as commerce.
As what?
Commerce.
Oh,
It
you
did-
mean commerce, like money,
right.
right?
Right.
Okay.
We were brought here as
I can go
commerce.
with that.
You know, the slave ships, all the money about. We were brought here as commerce,
Not
and
non-human then.
well, that's what commerce is.
So how you
Co-
go? I mean, only thing I've asked the question is, how do you say we are slaves? Just like saying we are Negroes or we are colored. How do you classify that?
okay,
How
but
do you
see,
classify
but see,
us as colored?
but see, we're human. See, as sophisticated as AI gets, right? AI can never be classified as a human.
Right.
I don't care how sophisticated it gets. I don't care how kind of memory, the what it can do, what it can never be classified as a human.
Right.
Nobody would never take an AI to court and say this is a human being.
Right. Go ahead.
We were just like AI, commerce.
Yeah. We were
Okay.
non-human to them.
We were non-human to them. We were commerce, and so we had to evolve from that state. Now you have to ask yourself: the people that wrote the Constitution, we would argue, they were pretty smart men, right? Deep down in that brain of theirs, don't you know that they knew we were human?
Yeah, of course they do. They knew everything they did. It's not. I mean, they did it intentionally. That's
Because
why
we were commerce.
our names. They wrote slave into other documents.
Because
Like,
we were commerce, brother. We were commerce.
I can't think of the name.
We were commerce.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with you. That's a fact.
To the
That-
victor go the spoils. We were
Huh?
traded. We were traded. When
If we
Britain
commerce, that's
when
what
Britain went to
commerce
the
is, right?
when Britain went to the African coast, they didn't go there with rifles and shoot
We're
up all
not,
the.
I mean, that's not an argument between me and you, Claude. I agree with you.
But my point, to get back to this, who are we in America? We have had to be taken
We have,
from.
no.
We were always a human. We were always human.
So
It
what is the word nationality? Does that mean anything? Does it mean anything to you?
I think, but see, I think I think what you're doing is since the whole principle behind slavery was commerce, the slave trade was about commerce.
That's why they call it the slave trade, right?
The British and the other nations that traded in commerce with Africa, they didn't go over there and kill. They didn't go over there and capture slaves.
No,
They
were delivered slaves.
They were delivered slaves. Now, did the slaves that delivered
let me take that back. I said it wrong. They were delivered people that was captured.
were captured?
That was pain.
Now the people that they were bargaining with, right? They had to make deals, right? They had to negotiate. Give us 20 rifles, we give you 15 slaves, right? So they knew we were human because they bargained with us. They negotiated with
But
us.
what's the point behind the information you putting out right now?
I guess the point behind the information that I'm putting out is that America is a unique place. It is unique because it's the only country that I can think of outside of the islands where slaves were brought, Barbados and those kind of places. But I think America was unique in the sense that America took No other country addressed the humanity of the
Mm-hmm.
slave.
Mm-hmm.
Only in America was
Yeah,
our
'cause, we're
humanity.
the only ones that went across the water.
No, slaves were in other countries.
Yeah, they were, but they wasn't
We,
captured
but
from other places and
no,
brought.
but what I'm saying, slaves were in Barbados. Most of
Mm-hmm.
the slaves that came from Barbados were
Came
brought
from.
to South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
But in Barbados, their humanity was not taken away in no government documents that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm. But what's in Barbados?
No,
Black people or just black or more
no,
white people or more black people?
no. What I'm saying, the majority of slaves were brought to. America was the last stop on the slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
This the reason why Africans in South Carolina kept their language is because so many of them was brought from the same place, so they had a
Mm-hmm.
cultural identity,
Mm-hmm.
and plus they was isolated on those islands off the coast. So they kept their identity to this day. The point I'm making to you is America is unique
Mm-hmm.
in in the documents that it drafted for its constitution and the
Mm-hmm.
people that it excluded.
Mm-hmm.
No other country did that.
Right.
They didn't. No other country took away a slave's humanity.
Took
The,
away
the
what?
question, a slave's humanity,
Right.
humaneness,
Mm-hmm.
only in America.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say is capitalism. Capitalism is unique in its form, like no other place in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Britain, they didn't take away a slave's humanity.
But do you think slave is a people? Is slave a people?
I think a slave is a product, as defined in America.
So do you think when they came off the plantation and were freed, they were still product?
No, but see, let me backtrack. Not a product like AI. Like AI is a product. It will
Mm-hmm.
always be a product. I don't care how. Slaves have always been people,
Mm-hmm.
but it just shows you the power of government and
Okay.
and that Constitution. They deliberately.
Mm-hmm.
Why you think they wrote it like they wrote it? They deliberately
They wanted to make
left.
sure we would not include it.
Right. They avoided the question.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't they say in the Constitution other people. How did they avoid slavery? What was the language? I can't recall.
Uh,
Uh,
I don't know.
I can look it up real quick, but
Okay.
they never addressed our humanity in that document.
They never addressed anything about our culture, about us as a
Well, I
people.
mean,
What did
well,
they address? You said the 14th Amendment was brought us.
because how they gonna address
Why?
why would they address anything about culture when you're a commodity? When they treated you as a commodity.
We came off the plantation, and now all these things are relevant. We got to be brought back to society and brought on the level of people, and we have never been brought on that level. That's my.
So well, so you think the evolution, you think to where we are today that America still has not allowed us to be fully humanized.
Absolutely. Let me. I'm gonna tell you why. Because when you walked off that plantation, like you say, they were commerce. When they were on the plantation, they were money. They made money for the slave owners. When they walked off, they were free and individualized. But those individuals, you can't. The Emancipation said that you are free. And once you say you're free, you can go anywhere you want to go. So when they start going everywhere they wanted to go, they had no bottom,
That
no
begs the question.
foundation after they walked off the
That
plantation.
begs the question. What is freedom?
Freedom is not being captive.
No, but uh, many of them chose to stay on the plantation
Well, I
because
don't know.
because
They probably did, but they had to work some bargains out.
so so was that freedom?
They became sharecroppers.
Right.
No,
So was that
I
freedom
mean,
then?
I don't have a problem with some of them staying on the plantation.
So were they free?
But I do have a problem when we don't understand that you can't go from slavery to to citizen without making some adjustments, without making some proclamations. You can't just say I'm now an American citizen, and that's exactly what they did. They framed everything. So when we walked off the plantation, we were not going to be citizens. And Dred Scott took it to court to change that, and they denied it. And we still were not. The Supreme Court denied it. We still were not citizens. So now here comes you say the 14th Amendment. After the 14th Amendment, it's after Dred Scott. Now the 14th Amendment. Let's pull that up and go down the 14th Amendment. Can we do that, Claude?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got it somewhere. Let me see. I want to go down the lines and just talk about it because there's nothing in there. You know, all right, let's start at the. I want to start, if we can, if it's okay with you, at one of the very first documents that they formed, which was the Declaration of Independence. Now, with them forming the Declaration of Independence, the unanimous declaration of the 13 states of America. I'm just going to read the first paragraph, but I don't see anything about black people here. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political band which have connected them. All right, let me go down to the part that everybody knows. We hold these trusts to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Now, this is one of the first documents that they created before the Constitution. This was created on July 4th, 1776.
Right.
I don't know is that before the Constitution or not.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
They said they left women off.
Yeah, they did. We ain't even discussing women. That ain't even a factor right now. But why would they say all men created equal in this document?
But why would they leave women off?
We're not talking about women, Claude. We're talking about men. We got to get the men straight first. Then we can talk about the women.
So we talking about slave men?
I'm asking you, when they say all men are created equal, why do we need the 14th Amendment? Huh? We don't. The 14th Amendment has no value to the United States or to the people of the United States. The 14th Amendment was written to reunite the Southerners back into the Union. And they had to do something just like we have to do something. Everyone, they did over 200,000 Southerners had to take the oath of amnesty. And the same thing with us. We come out of slavery as free people. In order for us to become citizens or to get into the Union, we have to take the oath of amnesty. And
Brother Bay,
mm-hmm.
when this country was founded, right?
Mm-hmm.
They was trying. We had people from Europe, mm-hmm. right? That founded America.
White people. White people and black people have two different set of rules.
Okay, so when they came here, so all the white people here did not necessarily agree.
No, they didn't have to do shit. They were citizens automatically.
No, but they didn't agree with one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they didn't agree on commerce. They didn't agree on. They didn't agree on anything. Most of the people that came to America were European peasants for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, they came here looking for. They were white.
Scottish came, the
Scottish, the Irish, but they were on the low scale, socio-economic scale of the countries they came from. They wasn't part of the ruling class, the middle class, the upper class.
We got cities like New Braunfels over here,
right?
And,
so let me finish. So they wasn't part of the elite in Europe, right? They were the peasants.
Yeah,
basically.
Not everybody. I'd say the majority.
Not the majority. I mean, they came over as indentured servants.
Make sure we're
talking about white people.
Right.
I'm talking about white people.
Okay.
Okay, so when they came here, just like over there, they argued amongst each other, right?
Right.
They didn't trust the elite. The elite didn't trust them. I mean, they had varying viewpoints politically, right?
Hmm.
They knew that they didn't want the same kind of government. They knew that they didn't want to be ruled by kings and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Their interest was totally different than the interest of the capitalists that founded this country. But the capitalists had to create a system to where capitalism, where they could enrich themselves in the country and not upset the masses of the people that came here from Europe, right?
What is the
And,
first
and, and
thing?
so what they did, they wrote a contract. The Constitution ain't nothing but a contract
Of course.
between the people,
Understood. What's
between the.
understood don't have to be explained, Claude.
Okay, but everybody that's listening may not understand it. So what I'm saying, I mean, you ask. So they wrote a contract, right? That document, right? Now, you're a business person. You've written contracts. Sometimes you leave stuff out on purpose.
They left us out of the Constitution.
But sometimes you leave things out on purpose, right?
But all men are created equal.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just.
Okay.
You saying what?
Okay. So they said all men are created equal, right?
Yeah.
Endowed by their creator, right?
Huh?
Now, if you are a savvy business person, right, and you trying to keep all these goddamn peasants from overrunning, killing you, or
Society. Yeah.
right, you got to tell them motherfuckers that y'all all equal,
Yeah.
right?
Got it.
You gotta make them believe that they're just as equal as the capitalists that are taking advantage of them.
When white people go somewhere to
Don't politicians listen to me, brother?
another society.
Don't politicians do that same thing today? Why you think a cracker in Mississippi or Alabama who ain't got nothing in common with a wealthy monarch from New York will vote for somebody like that? Because he basically did what the founders did.
We understand that they write laws, they write contracts.
No, but what I'm saying, brother
Other
Bay,
people coming
but brother
in
Bay,
to abide
but
by
brother Bay,
the
you miss.
contract, or they in violation.
But
of
brother Bay,
what
you're
society
missing the key
does.
point. You're missing the key point. I'm telling you. I'm telling you that the Constitution was a contract,
Who told you that? I ain't never said it wasn't.
and they had to tell the people, the masses of the people, y'all all equal.
Now the Constitution was a contract, but it was written
By capitalists. By
It was
capitalists.
not written like it was not written.
But it was written by capitalists. They was trying to form this
It was
country
written
and keep.
it was written more like a bylaw.
But brother
That's
Bay,
what it was.
they came here. They
Written
came.
more like a bylaw than it was.
Brother Bay, they came here to make money. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, like I say, Claude, we understand that.
But what I'm saying, but you seem to be missing the point I'm trying to make. You
What is
seem
the
to think
point?
that you seem to think that somehow the words in the Constitution means other than what they wrote it to mean was to keep
No, I
it.
said they don't mean us. They don't include us. That's what I'm saying. They're not
But it
considered
wasn't. But it wasn't.
when they write it.
It wasn't
They're
written for
considering
us.
to write us out of it, and that's what they do. They write us out of all these documents. We were not considered in the Constitution.
But
So
I
when
don't
they
think.
wrote the Declaration of Independence, they weren't even included. Black people, the free slaves, or the free slaves they had no intentions of considering them as all men are created equal. That was
Right.
not even
Because the document wasn't written for that.
still 3/5 of man, even though they were free.
But brother Bay, the document was written to keep the masses of people from rebelling against the capitalists.
Okay.
And they had to write it in such a manner that it gave them a sense of
So you
equality.
defending the way it was written.
No, I'm saying that we were brought to. I'm saying that we were the people. You trying to make the founders have some kind of virtues? They didn't have no virtues. They were
All right.
capitalists. They didn't
So-
give a shit. All they was trying to do was keep. Wait a minute.
I
They was trying to keep the masses of them goddamn European peasants that was in this country from rebelling against them and taking away their profits.
When it was understood Don't have to be explained.
Well,
I
I
agree
mean,
with you 100% on that.
yeah, but you're trying to make it seem like the Constitution
No,
is some kind
what
of
I'm trying
virtuous
to
document.
let me make sure
It
you
was never
understand
a
my point.
virtuous document to begin with.
Let me get you to understand my point. Can I do that?
Sure.
All right. My point is, we're just going to talk about the Declaration of Independence. When they say all men are created equal, there was never a single consideration to include the freed slaves
You saying the same thing I just said.
in a different way. But I'm saying,
But
now
you're
you,
trying to, but
I'm
you're
saying,
trying to make it. But
well,
you're
you
trying to give. But
intentionally,
you're trying to give those
you
words some
said
kind
you
of.
were going to let me express my point.
Okay, but you're trying to give those words some virtuous meaning.
No, I'm trying to say they wrote it like that because they didn't want us to be part of this country.
No,
They
but
didn't consider us to be part of this country.
that ain't
They
what it.
only considered us as the labor that they needed on the plantation
The
for this.
prophet, the
Not
prophet,
only did they write us out of this
the
document,
prophet,
but they
brother.
wrote us out of several other documents too.
Right,
And that's intentional. That's
right.
not by accident. They did that because they wanted to. If we were written in the document, if we were considered, why is it that this all men are created equal don't apply to us? It doesn't apply to us. They had no consideration. That's my entire point. That they had no consideration for our people. And everything is about our people. I don't give a damn about the commerce people floating all over the ocean bringing slaves. That ain't the conversation. The conversation is why we are not people in this country. And how do you come from a freed slave to a citizen in the United States? You can't, because it's the same thing that happened with the southern states when they had to be reunited into the northern states. Before they could be reunited with the northern states, they had to take the oath of amnesty. The same principle apply to the slaves when they came off the plantation. If you don't take the oath of amnesty, you cannot be a citizen. It's the same principle. Why would it change from the southern states and
Why would
then
why
now
would the, why would
slaves?
the slaves
Why
need to
would
take an
it,
oath of amnesty?
why they had to take it and the slaves didn't? Both of them had to
Why
take
would
it,
the slave?
huh?
Why would the slaves need to? Why would the slaves need to take it? The slaves
Because
never rebelled.
why would the southern states need to take it? Same
But
reason.
the slaves never rebelled.
The slaves are trying to get into the United States, right? Or trying to become citizens. How do you become a citizen? You take the oath of amnesty. Just like the southern states were already part of the United States, but they what they call it deflected, whatever. They did not. They could not come back to the U.S. unless they took the oath of amnesty, and that's what the government did. Then the same thing has to happen with the slaves. It's the same principle. Anybody coming into the union must take the oath of amnesty. We are not in the union.
Well, let me ask you a question. How do you feel? How do you feel today about that document? I mean,
About the
you.
document,
How do you feel today as an American?
I feel I have a dual citizenship. And I feel that the people that don't have it, the black people, I'm talking strictly black, going to be in a rude awakening because they are not citizens of this country. And the 14th Amendment is going to be, it ain't thrown out yet, but it will be because it violates the Constitution to start with. And you cannot contradict yourself in the Constitution. And that's what the 14th Amendment does. It contradicts. But it was written so we could bring the southern states back into the Union.
So
So
it's the
hey,
constant. So it's a,
let's say all the slaves on the plantation were the southern states. So now it's over. They're free. They were prisoners of war. In order for them to become part of the United States again, they had to take the oath of amnesty as a class of people,
but
and they
why?
did not do it.
But
And
why?
right now we never done it,
I
and
don't. I don't understand why would we have to take the oath of amnesty.
because the U.S. has that as a 100% policy. Before you become a citizen in this country, you have to take the oath of amnesty. But they say you're born here, it gives you citizenship. But when you didn't have citizenship from the beginning, you don't have citizenship now. You're not part of the country. You are part of the
So you're
corporation.
saying a political document can't give. You're saying a political document can't give you citizenship.
No, it can't. One more thing. You have the USA and you have the US of A. Corporation, union. We are still part of the corporation. We have never been put in the union. That's the difference. And if you research it, and I can show you the steps how we're part of the USA corporation, and white people are part of the US of A union.
Okay, so how does that manifest itself? I got a passport, it's got U.S. citizen on there. I
Hmm.
got a driver's license, it's got U.S. citizen.
Hmm.
I got
What
other
is all right? So
official
let's
documents.
see. So all you gonna say when you go to another country? Are you gonna say you're a U.S. citizen?
No, my passport says
You're
it.
not gonna say I'm black or
No,
African American.
no.
What happened? You lose all your titles when you go overseas or something?
I mean,
All your stuff in another country.
what does a British person that goes
No,
overseas?
we talk about us. What do we
What?
call ourselves in another country? That's all I want to know, Claude. What do we call ourselves in another country?
I think most people call themselves Americans.
Oh, they don't call themselves what, black. I'm a black American. I'm an
I bet if
African
you, I bet if you went out there on that base right there in San Antonio and asked every soldier what are they gonna say I'm American.
American. I don't think so.
9 out of 10, bet
People
you.
have distinct classes. And why do you think they got Chinatown or Korean town? Because these people got their own thing within their own culture. We don't.
Well,
We
no,
have to
yeah,
classify as a people too.
no,
They
we
can
were.
say they're Korean American. They can say they're Chinese American. But us, we have to get a foundation before we can build on it. How come the federal government has never, ever in the history of the USA or US of A addressed the freed slave issue where we never got our 40 acres and a mule? We never been treated as fair people. Why didn't the U.S. pay these plantation owners? Because they didn't pay for us, and
Well,
it's
who,
written into the
well, who
compensation.
was going to negotiate the contract on our behalf?
And we don't have anybody.
I mean, back then, all of our institutions are
We
named
never had.
after white folks for the most part. Our colleges. Who was going to do the negotiation? Black on our
Nope.
behalf.
We had nobody. But see, we trusted that they would do the right thing by us. But they only did the right thing that benefited them. Nothing they've done in our interest has been in our interest. It's been in their interest. I mean, you can come back, you can't come up with nothing to tell me they did it because of them. Every law, every act, everything they've done is a result of them violating us. When they write it, when it's got something about us in it, it's a result of a violation they put against us. They don't do anything for us. Ain't a single thing in America been done without a crisis leading up to it. Not a single thing. They couldn't even pass the George Floyd Act. That was as a result of somebody getting beat to death.
All right.
So nothing in this country has been done by the federal government to make us whole. We're not whole. We're never going to be whole until the federal government get off their ass and say the goddamn truth. And they have not done it.
And what truth would they need to say?
They need to apologize as a country and they need to compensate as a country.
Well, that ain't no time happening. You see just
I
what happened
know
down
it
in
ain't.
down in Tulsa.
That's why we are not together because that's why we got the problem we got. They can beat the shit out of us and they won't even, they can't do, we can't do shit about it. But there's a world court for a reason. The world court is where a country A city, a state, an individual can file a lawsuit against another country. That's what the world court is for. Michael Brown, Ferguson, uh, Missouri, got their family got 25, 45, so many $1 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
They filed against the U.S.A. at the world court. The world court told this family that they cannot prosecute the case. And the reason they can't prosecute the case is because Michael Brown is not a citizen. Now, tell me something ain't wrong with that. A foreign country, the world court said it, not the individual. That's something that we all have to consider. When you are not a citizen in the United States, you can be done, anything can be done to you, and nothing can be done about it on any level. That's why black people have been beat to death, killed, stabbed, raped. I mean, you name it, it has been done to black people. And it's going to continue to be done to black people until we take the oath of amnesty.
Well, brother. One of the problems that we have, I mean, and I appreciate your scholarly perspective on this matter,
Mhm.
but most scholars would argue that that document,
Go ahead.
that particular document, we would not. The rights that we have is a result of that document, the 14th Amendment, and so uh, it's the amendment that refuses to die.
That amendment, what?
That refuses to die.
You talking about the 14th Amendment?
The 14th Amendment. Because when you look at
Did
the
you?
reason why it refuses to die is because I agree with you on one hand, we are still not full citizens of this country. I do agree with that. But it's the 14th Amendment that clears that path forward. And
Yeah, it does. You're right, it does.
I
The
mean,
14th
and
Amendment,
even though we're not there yet, but where would we be without the 14th Amendment?
we
Because
we
because the
we,
Voting Rights Act, the
we
Civil
play.
Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, all of these laws that continues to address our humanity would not be possible without the
We
14th
would
Amendment.
be in the exact same place we in right now because it doesn't apply to us. And if it did, we would have had to do the same thing that the southern states had to do to that be admitted to the union.
So you're saying since it's an amendment that purports not to never die, we that means that something's still wrong, right?
Yeah, something's wrong.
Something's still wrong because
Yeah,
we still need laws to
absolutely.
fulfill something that was passed in the 1800s, right?
Hmm.
We still need laws on the books that rely on this 18th Amendment to give us full citizenship rights.
Yeah,
So
we're not
that
for.
kind of
There's
so
levels to
so
citizenship anyway.
so that kind of justifies, but they also use it to give full citizenship rights to women.
They did
To
what?
They also used the
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 14th Amendment.
14th Amendment to equalize rights for women, to give women full rights.
Everything they've done is just my opinion. Everything they've done based on the 14th Amendment is null and void. Because if you, I'm going to you got to tie it back to the Constitution. And how you going to amend something that ain't what you supposed to
So what
amend?
should have happened after the Civil War? Did we
Well,
need a 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment?
we had to take the oath. But you
Because
took,
how was they going to amend the Constitution without the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment?
well, I can't put them all together. The 13th, well,
Well, the 13th abolished slavery.
15 is good, but the
The
14th,
14th and the 15th gave us the right to vote.
no, I'm gonna pull it up, Clark, because I want you to hear what the violation is. So give me a second, but tell me some more stuff about what you know about it. because I know that it's wrong. I know that they have not done what they were supposed to do. And I'm going to show you why. But I want you to tell me why you so adamant about the 14th Amendment being correct.
I never said it was correct. I was just arguing with you that it's an amendment to a contract that excluded certain
Uh-huh.
that has certain things excluded from it. You have to amend a contract. That's why they call them amendments.
Of course.
They're amending that original contract.
But if you amended it in the Constitution, right? What was written before the Constitution? The Declaration of Independence. Well, a document before the Declaration of Independence stated that nothing can change it. The U.S.A. said that. When they said that you can't change something before they wrote the Constitution, it was come before the Constitution. I know the Declaration of Independence, the Gettysburg Address. What else?
Okay, let me put it to you this way. You live in a neighborhood, y'all got HOAs, right?
Yeah,
And your HOAs got certain contracts, right?
yeah,
Now, before blacks could live in communities that had HOAs, right? They had to amend those contracts because those contracts had exclusionary clauses, right?
yeah,
There were neighborhoods that excluded black folks, right? And it was
yeah.
inside the
I hear it.
HOA,
Is. I
right?
got it.
It was inside the HOA document, right?
Hmm. Let me
And
get
it's the
back to
same thing with the Constitution. It
let me go
excluded
back to
us.
let me go back to the case in point.
Okay.
The 14th Amendment grants citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States, right? That's what
Hmm.
it says. And the next line says, including formerly enslaved people. That is not a nationality. That's not a person. Formerly enslaved people, that could be anybody. We can't take that and say we're good to go. How you gonna say that's good to go when they say formerly enslaved? Slave is an adjective. When you say enslaved, I don't know what the hell that is, but the formerly enslaved is the problem with the 14th Amendment. Why couldn't they call us a name like African American, which would have avoided it still, or black, which would have avoided it still, or Negro, which would have avoided it still? Everything they could have put in there about us would have avoided the 14th Amendment. But they had to call us something. So if they,
Well, the way I look at that is, and here again, I may be prejudiced by saying that. I don't think no law in this country, starting with the Constitution, has ever been written or amended with us as the number one goal.
oh hell yeah, that's 100 there, Claude.
So
100.
that's
I
how I
give
would
you
answer you. That's
with,
how I would
with,
answer your. That's how I would answer that.
all right, let me tell you the next line.
Okay.
It says, including formerly enslaved people and provide all citizens with equal protection under the law.
Right.
It's void. It's violent. It doesn't. All right. So
Again.
compensation emancipation. Where did I pass it? Let me try to get back to it. Because I'm pulling these points up because I want to.
No, I hear you.
All right. The 14th Amendment promises that all persons in the United States shall enjoy the equal protection of the law. This means that they cannot be discriminated against without good reason. All laws discriminate because government must make choices about what's lawful and what's not. So you can't say certain things in certain documents. Like in a contract, they're going to use the word shall instead of can. And they both have two different definitions, but both of them mean the same thing, similar, but one of them is stringent. It can't be changed. If you say shall perform these duties, then that contract that line cannot be changed. But if you say can perform these duties, you can do what the line say or do what you want to do, and they can't do nothing about it because it's not binding. Can is not
I
binding, but
agree.
should.
Can you hear me?
Hmm? What'd you say?
I agree with everything you're saying. I guess what I'm
We
saying
on the
is,
same sheet. We just having a good time, Claude.
yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I guess in the context of this country and how it was founded, and maybe that's why the complexity of who we are still exists to this day.
Mm,
That we don't know who we are. That we go through these name changes and these name identities and
mm.
this interdivisional division. You know, it would explain all that.
All right, let
Um,
me let me tell you something about the 14th Amendment or the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment with 20 sections. This is the original 13th Amendment. If you type in original 13th Amendment on Google, it'll pop up the 13th Amendment with 20 sections. It says that I'm just going to skip a lot. Forfeiture of all rights and property of persons engaged therein and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. So the 13th Amendment says we're not citizens. I don't get it. The U.S. contradicts themselves so damn much.
well, like I said, you got to go back to the founding of the country. You got to go back to the you know what was going on in the country
Mm-hmm.
in the, not just with slavery, but amongst the Europeans that settled this land. Not
Mm-hmm.
not the native. I mean you. I mean it was an imperfect place.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The foundation ain't right. You got to get the foundation right before you build anything.
And I don't.
Well, we
And
cannot build anything because our foundation is not right.
why do you? Let me ask you a question. Why do you think the people in Philadelphia wrote what they wrote?
What? The Gettysburg Address?
No, the Constitution. Why do you think they
They
you?
wrote it because they knew they needed a governing document to form a society. There
Okay.
was no way they could form a society off the tip of their head or off the tip of their tongue. They had to have something to validate it. But before they could get it complete, every single one of them, 54 people, that had to agree to it. And that's what they did. And they agreed to every clause. And they said they could not put could not put us in the Constitution because that would stop them from using us the way they wanted to.
Which was to make use us for profit,
Commerce, like you said.
commerce.
So it's,
So so when
fact.
people so when people so when so this quest for equality that because some people argue that the
Yeah, you froze for a second, but as soon as you come back, you get it back. But that's a sad thing that these documents say this thing. Even in the Gettysburg Address, it says that all men are created equal. The Gettysburg Address started with 7 years ago. Our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated in the proposition that all men are created equal, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So all these documents produced before the Constitution violated. So you back call the
yeah,
whole
I'm here.
nation,
Can you can you hear me?
include us. Go
Can
ahead.
you hear me?
I hear you.
Well, I like I said, they wrote it at a time. I mean, what? Who? Put yourself in 1787 to 1789.
Mm.
What was it like back then? Who, when they looked out that window, what did they see?
Let
Hello,
me.
can you hear
I
me?
don't know, but what I want to do.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, Claude.
Yeah. So what was it
When they
like back
looked out their window, they
in
saw
17
opportunity.
1787 through
They
when they wrote?
they saw opportunity. We saw the white man. Let me tell you the definition of slave. Okay, um, This it comes out of the Roman law. It says Roman law, serve us, paragraph one. Roman law, the legal system of the ancient Roman forming the basis of civil law. That's the definition, part of the definition of slave. The second definition is a human being who was property and could be bought, sold, pledged, uh, testated, having left a will at death. And the source is Black's Law Dictionary, 11th edition. That's where I got that from. But that doesn't say anything that relates to us.
I guess my thing too, brother, is whatever. When it comes to human value,
Mm,
I don't think that we're yet at 100
no,
in this country.
I agree.
And the law, whether the 13th Amendment, the 14th, no law has been specifically targeted
To
for
help us to
to
do
help
what you're supposed
to
to do for
change
us.
that devaluation. No law
I
specifically
found something
for
else
us.
to tell you. All this is stuff that I researched. This is our Emancipation Proclamation.
Right.
It says that Abraham Lincoln has what they call an executive will. In that executive will, it says slaves shall be forever free. It also says in any effort for their actual freedom. It doesn't just say freedom, it says actual freedom, which has a meaning to it. I don't know, I didn't look up the meaning to actual freedom yet, but that is a problem for me. Because if I'm free, why you got to say actual freedom? Why do I need that
Yeah,
adjective in front?
well, let me ask you a question, brother Bay. What percent of free do you think you are in America?
Right now, I feel like I'm probably 90% and 100%. 90% American and 100% Moroccan. You don't have if you're not if you don't have a nationality, they can walk in into your property and take everything they want. If they call martial law, then you're under that martial law. I'm not under the martial law because I have dual citizenship. That's the difference. So by not having dual citizenship, you're subjected to whatever the country or the city or the state decides to do. Even on the highway, when I'm driving down the highway, I'm not driving, I'm traveling. Because if I said I was driving, that means I'm working. Because driving is associated with commerce, not with an individual going down the road. So it's the wording of documents that make the difference about who you are and how you have a footprint in America. Until Clark comes back, I'm gonna just tell you something about this country. In 1776, in 1776, we signed the Declaration of Independence. All right, Clark, here you go. And we signed the Declaration of Independence. 1788, three-fifths of a person in the U.S. Constitution. It's three-fifths of a person in the U.S. Constitution. In 1861, we declared war to protect slavery. So that's when the Civil War started. In 1865, that's when the war ended. Well, actually, it only lasted 3 years. So in 1865, Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. 1915, that's when the birth of a nation came out. 1921, Black Wall Street was burned down. And there are so many places in this country that was burned down, but that's just one of them. 1955, Emmett Till was killed. He was 14. 1961, um, what is that? John Lewis beaten on Edmund Pettus Bridge. See, that was 1961. Still, 1963, four black girls was bombed in Ebenezer Baptist Church, killed by white people. In 1968, Martin Luther King got assassinated. 1970, I missed Malcolm X, but I think he was assassinated in 1966 or
Yeah,
65.
a couple of months before Dr. King.
Say again?
I think either a couple of months before or a couple of months after Dr. King.
So, yeah, okay, I got to put that on my list too. All right, 1976, Ronald Reagan blamed black people for the demise of white people. Ronald Reagan did
Yeah, he went down to your state and launched his campaign.
that. And he coined the phrase welfare queen.
And he went to the part of Mississippi where those three civil rights workers were killed
Yeah,
to do it.
that's sad that our
Uh-huh.
president
And how
trying to
how inhumane can you be?
to do something like that
Yeah.
at the site of where people were already murdered.
Yep.
But I just got a couple of more, if you don't mind. 1986, Ronald Reagan vetoed a bill um, to help stop the apartheid or the genocide in
Rwanda.
Africa. Something was they were cutting out the Hutu and the Houthis
Yeah,
were fighting.
Rwanda. Yeah.
He denied that was going on in Africa. 1989, Donald Trump called for the execution of the five boys. 92, Rodney King got beat up. 2005, Bush took too long to respond to Katrina. Katrina sat there underwater 24 hours before, even longer than that, before the president of the United States acted. And how you got to sit there and wait till the state call you in before you take action and tell somebody to get ready? Why weren't you staging shit to send down there to help them people? That was so sad, the shit that happened down there. 2011, Donald Trump accused Obama of not being a citizen. 2015,
I thought you was gonna say that.
huh?
I thought you were gonna say he accused Obama of going to Flint, Michigan, and not really drinking that water.
No, I don't know
He
that.
sipped it. Go ahead.
All right, so 2015, 9 black people murdered in a South Carolina church.
Yeah.
And that's the same boy that they took to Burger King because he was hungry. I'm
Yep.
telling you, a little white boy.
Yep.
2020, Donald Trump tried to throw out black votes in Atlanta and in Georgia, that is Georgia, and other places in the United States and got away with it. 2024, white people in Ohio chose to nominate Donald Trump with 91 law violations, accused rapists, 34 felony accounts. Ohio did that. I wanted to go down the list, just like you said earlier, Claude, that we can never get it where we on the same sheet of music here in America. No matter what they do, they're gonna always consider us second class citizens. If white people can come into a country and kill 90% of the population, that's pretty damn sad. And when I say 90% of the population, they say Indian, but there's no Indian thing here. There's blacks. They kill black people. 90% of the black people in this country, they killed. That left us. Us. That's a lot of people. Um, some things are fundamentally.
Why do you think that what they did to the native people, the African native people, has never been dealt with in the World Court or any other kind of body?
It's all about land. They kept moving the people, and they kept putting them on the.
But why you think that has never been addressed in the World Court? Because in some kind of
There has to
Yeah,
be a case filed. You have to file the case. I don't think the Indians, I'm just the black Indians, have got it to a point where a government where they can act internationally. They are not represented internationally. They're only represented here in this country. You don't have an Indian embassy anywhere, you know. So that's the difference. So the USA pushed them all into the Black Hills, and then the ones that couldn't get into Black Hills on the reservation,
they
they put them
marched him.
on the tiers. But
Yeah,
see, people don't realize that the Seminoles, the Seminoles tried to protect. Well, they didn't try. They started killing soldiers that were marching these people down the Trail of Tears down to Florida. They were snipers with bow and arrows, but the Seminoles are black people who escaped to Mexico. And then in Mexico, that's where King George, I think, the third, gave them freedom in that country. They were free. He did a proclamation to do that for them. And then they formed a government, and then they formed a militia who fought against the soldiers who were on the Trail of Tears. It's black people protecting these people on the Trail of Tears. That's what was happening, and that's a beautiful thing.
so 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 black people, unlike other things, human things, uh, commercial things. So black people's value gone up in this country.
I don't think so. I think our value is less is weaker because we don't provide the white man the money the way we did when we were on the plantation. So
You
I think
think?
value is zero right now. We're not valued in this country at all. And I think that's an excellent question, Claude. I mean, we have no value. What do you think?
I think we've been given an illusion of value by our participation in the political process and
Mm-hmm.
a small black middle class by any other group standard is very small.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I think they've created just enough illusion to keep us complacent,
Yeah.
or to make us complacent, or to pit us one against one another. I think that they've indoctrinated a number of us to believe that that this whole American ethic is anybody, if you work hard enough you can lift yourself up by your bootstrap. Look at me. I think that permeates our political mind, our black political mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we don't have any money is reflective in the accountability of our black elected officials.
So,
I mean, when you look at the different groups that fund candidates,
mm,
none of them are us.
that's right. Not a single group.
None of
So
them are
let me
us.
ask you this question.
So,
Let me ask you a question. Why is it that I ain't got to write it down now since I got a chance to ask? Why is it that the America has not formed us like they formed the Indians, like giving us our nation, giving us our nationality? See, the Indians have a nationality.
because
We,
we didn't fight.
huh? We
We
didn't
didn't
fight for it.
we didn't fight.
We didn't, and technically, our existence came on a totally different level than theirs. So
And I
we,
think
they should. I think they should have gave us our own nation. And got it. You hear what I'm saying? They should have gave us our own nation. The
within
word.
a nation, that wasn't gonna happen. We're too much. We're too valuable. We're too valuable to the commerce side of America.
I think they were more worried about us surpassing them with technology and information and
That could.
just being a better community, better state than
Right.
all these other states. That's
That.
why they try to keep us where they keep us because anything we go into, we're better at. We're
Because
better.
because because obviously it's a farce, because you don't keep something from something that you don't think has intellect or has human attribute. I mean, why deny you the opportunity to learn if you're property? I
That,
mean, it's a
that
contradiction.
was law.
It was
That was
law,
in the law in some
right?
states.
So it's a contradiction.
Yeah,
So it's a game. America plays it better than anywhere else in the world because they created the.
because it's the corporation that plays it. See, why do you think DC is not affiliated to a state?
Yeah,
Why do you think that? That's the corporation, and the
yeah.
corporation consists of the USA, France, and Great Britain. That's it. Those are the three.
Well, I think they've expanded it to like about 5 countries now. So it's 5 of them. Yeah.
But you have, and even in the documents when you see the United States of America, for when it comes from the state, and then you see the United States
Yeah.
of the United States.
So I guess in the framework of this discussion, talking about the Dred Scott case, because the Dred Scott case did lead to the 15th Amendment, the
Mhm.
13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment,
Yes.
and and they and
And
what
the
do they
Civil
say?
War.
But what do they call the amendments? The slavery amendments.
The what?
The slavery amendments. The
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean the 13th Amendment, the 13th Amendment freed the slaves.
Yeah.
The 14th Amendment made him a citizen. So it's almost like in the context of the Constitution that they wrote,
Hmm.
that they put the parameters on,
Hmm.
regardless of our humanity, we were property. And the 13th
Yeah.
Amendment,
Yeah. Take it on to a close, Claude. But go ahead with what you're
the
saying.
13th, like
No,
I
I
said,
want you to finish,
the
please.
13th Amendment freed us. The 14th Amendment made us, and the 15th Amendment gave us political rights. In a nutshell.
Mhm.
So, where were we? 15th Amendment.
Say that again. You blanked out.
Where were we, and what were we prior to the 13th Amendment?
We were nothing. We were property. We were released from the plantations, and immediately after we were released, we were recaptured through prison. We were put in jail for the most minute thing that
So
they
how
could.
could? So if we wasn't human, how was we screwing the planters' wives and daughters?
They couldn't deny us. You can put every like who you think invented Harley Davidson? A black man.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the first one to figure out how to work that engine.
So I mean, so it's one big white lie.
It's a big white lie.
And the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment are no greater than that original white lie that they told.
Yeah,
It's,
because it
it's,
never ever gave us an up. You know what I mean? It did not change a single thing for us. We might have been
well,
able to
think about it. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, we still needed Brown versus Board of Education just to give us certain basic rights in this country of
yeah,
equality.
it doesn't make sense that
Still needed the 1965 Voting Rights Act when you had the 15th Amendment.
that's right.
Still needed the Fair Housing Act when it said that we were equal citizens. So
Right.
where does it stop at? What new set of laws are we going to need?
We need a law to enforce the law.
No, we need a law to get rid of all the other laws and say everybody's on the same slate. We don't need this
It's been
shit.
such a great discussion today, man. I just get pumped up when we get on here and get to going like that. But
But
did it.
you raised some good points. Yeah.
So anything before we close?
Oh no, I agree. It was a good discussion. I think we elevated the discussion about these issues because we don't talk about them enough.
Yeah,
Or we don't
you're
clarify them enough.
And hopefully
And-
somebody will get this.
Well, I think they will. People have their own opinions. Some people, black people, we're a very complex people in a very complex nation, and I don't see that being unraveled because the attention has gone from human beings to machines. So I think that there's a less attention to our humanity than there ever was because of
Hmm.
technology. So I think we got to be cautious of that. The impact of our technology on our equality in this country,
Hmm.
and the evolution of the people at the bottom of the well. If a machine can do what every one of them can do now, what's that going to do to those people? Where they going to wind up at? What's technology going to do to our education system that's already at the bottom of the totem pole? So there are some difficult questions, and I don't see our leaders addressing those difficult questions. So I think that I don't know. I don't know. I don't see I'm not very optimistic about black life in this country.
All right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Mr. Claude Foster, our co-host on the Black News Network. We thank you for attending. This is the real voice of Black USA. You're hearing us from the desk of the emissary, the War Report. We do not own the rights to music, but we do own the rights to what we say. And I want you to join us again on Sunday at 3:30. Thank you very much, Claude.
Peace.